Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ty, and this is Ty's Table Talk. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions on the latest episodes of the reality shows we all love to watch. Now, my thoughts are my thoughts, and the reviews I share are from my perspective. But I can guarantee that at least a few of us are thinking the same things while we're watching these shows. If you're here for the first time, welcome to my channel. If you're a return viewer, thank you so much for joining me again. And y'all, I am here with a whole new review for the Never Ever Met Season 2, Episode 11, The Reunion. I just want to remind you all to please like, share, and subscribe. If you dig this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It's a free and easy way to support this channel and its growth. So with that said, y'all, pull up a seat, join me at the table, and let's get into this review. So y'all, this reunion is being hosted by host Taronda Jones, and all 7 couples are there so that their experiences during their time on the show can be revisited. All of the ladies are sitting up on a couch in some chairs, stage right, while the fellas are doing the same, stage left. And I must say, everybody looks very nice. It seems all of the women have changed up their hair, y'all. They're like, new hair, who this? Okay, and I appreciate it. The fellas are rocking their little tailored suits, and they are just all looking very, very nice. So we start off with the couple who exited the house first, Alicia and Irvin. We get a flashback of their time in the house and of their car rides leaving the house, during which Alicia was speaking to her higher power, saying, "Thank you for peace." And y'all, after this flashback scene, Irvin says, "Spare me." And that popped everything off. So the fellas start cracking up, and Taronda checks Irvin real quick. She says, "Irvin, I'm going to need you to be a little bit more graceful, brother." Listen, Taronda does not seem like she's there for the foolishness this day, okay? Irvin apologizes, but says during their time in the house, he felt like Alicia was gaslighting him, and she was supposed to bring happiness to his life, but she did not do that. Alicia says, "Oh, that's so unfortunate for you." And y'all, all of the fellas jump up and say, "See, that's the gaslighting ish right there." Alicia firmly tells all of the guys to mind their business. Tatiana says, "You got to take accountability for your own happiness. Period." Irvin tells Alicia he wanted her to impress him, and she says, "I'm better than all of this." Jay says, "Yes, we know. We've heard." Y'all, Jay is not here for Alicia and all of this, and says Alicia is being extra. Alicia says, "Well, I'm going to always be extra, no matter what." And then she tells Irvin, "The fact that I'm gracing you with my presence and you're still coming at me the way that you are is problematic." She says, "There's a certain way she will allow a man to speak to her, and this is not it." So she asks the ladies if she's wrong, and most of them validate her, and they say no, not at all. Toronto addresses the feeling unsafe comment Alicia made towards Irvin while they were in the house. And Alicia says, during that particular conversation, she felt aggression from Irvin. Toronto says, "Well, maybe he was nervous." And Alicia says, "Okay, maybe he was nervous. I will not label it." So Irvin says when that comment was made, he bounced. He wasn't going to put himself in an unfavorable position. But then Alicia chased after him and asked him to come back, which was confusing to him. Toronto agrees. And Alicia says, "Well, a better thing to have said at that moment was, 'Please don't yell at me.'" And Toronto says, "Well, you have to actually state that. Hello, he's not a mind reader, girl." Alicia says, "In that moment, I made a mistake. I should have allowed him to leave and have his space, so I apologize for that." And the men are like, "Yes, Alicia. Yes, girl. Now that's being accountable." Irvin thanks Alicia for taking accountability. Then they move on to whether or not Irvin is still involved with his ex, the one that he claimed reached out to him on that show. And he says they are, and that they're very happy. Alicia says she wants the best man the best things. So for now, she's not dating at all. On to Tatiana and Clovassier. Tatiana says coming into the house, she expected to have fun, be booed up, and potentially leave with Clay. But Clay was the wrong person to bring into the house with her, and that's where she went wrong. Clovassier says his expectation was to grow, and Tatiana did help him with that. His first date with Tati was a 10 out of 10. He felt they left the house that way, and he has nothing bad to say about Tati. But the hug situation with his best friend Jamila and the communication about it is what went wrong for him. And Clay, if you felt that y'all left the house on a 10 out of 10, what reality are you living in, sir? Because Tati was ready to rip your head off. So he didn't feel there was any reason for Tati to trip the way she did about the hug situation. Clay wanted to take a poll to see how the other couples felt about it. Kiki said Clay was playing in Tati's face the whole time, and was. Cinco says the hug was blown out of proportion, but Chris turns around to speak directly to Clay and says, Tati is a soft-spoken woman. You have to handle her that way. You have to handle her with care. Clay says, well, I see the way you've been looking at Tati, hinting that Chris maybe likes Tati and is interested in her for himself. And y'all, when Tati was speaking, Chris was sitting up there looking at her like he was the living, breathing version of the heart eyes emoji, okay? Baby, he looked like he was lusting after her just a little bit. Jay says there were a lot of secrets in the house, and Tati was always the last to know about Clay's, no matter what the secret was. Tati says yes, and there was a buildup of things. First, it was him lying about being a vegan. Then it was the baby situation. And then the best friend hug situation was the straw that basically broke the camel's back. He said he wanted peace, but he was the drama. And she stands by her reaction to all of it. Trying to ask if she's dating, and she says she has a roster. Clay says he does not have a roster, but he is seeing someone. So then Tati asks, is she your girlfriend, Clay? He says, huh? Doing his usual Clay thing. Then he says, well, yes. And Tati says, I asked him yesterday if he had a girlfriend, and he said he didn't know how to answer that question. The fellas try to save him and say, well, he just committed today. Y'all, get the hell out of here. Don't save him, okay? He don't want to be saved, child. Don't save him. He don't want to be saved. Don't save him. He don't want to be saved. Okay, let that man hang himself. So Brittany and Ty are up next. Brittany says she wanted to come into the house, meet Ty, and get to know him better. They had phone conversations discussing her boundaries, but he constantly crossed them. Ty said he expected Brittany to cater to him the way he catered to her, and that did not happen. Brittany says, well, I ironed your clothes. He said, you did that one time, and I'm a grown-ass man. I don't need you to iron my clothes. She says, well, okay then. I gave you massages. He demonstrates Brittany's massages on Jared, y'all. He starts tapping Jared on the shoulders with his fingertips, all hard and rough, saying, you did that. That's what you did. Brittany says, well, I didn't want you kissing on me, and you were constantly trying to kiss on me. Taronda says, we did a lot of activities discussing boundaries, so if she says something makes her uncomfortable, don't do it. Brittany says one time, Ty slapped me on the ass so hard, my teeth clicked together. Y'all, not the teeth clicking together. Good Lord. So she gave him a peck so he could stop and just move on. He said, I firmly grabbed your ass and you said you liked it. She said, no, I did not. I said, you give good hugs, bruh. That's it. Taronda says, the point is you made her uncomfortable, so you should have just backed off. He said, well, I did when I felt the energy was off, just like I'm backing away right now. He said she never set boundaries in person, and she said, well, no, I didn't, and I didn't speak up because I just wanted to keep the peace. Taronda basically says, okay, see, so that's where you messed up. You have to say these things out loud. Brittany says she's working on getting better at communicating. And Ty says he's dating around. Brittany says her exes are trying to spin the block on her now. And so Taronda then asks Jay what was up with the tension between you and Brittany in the house. Jay says when Brittany came in, she walked right past me and introduced herself to Cinco. So I don't know. She thinks Brittany was really into Cinco, not into Ty, and that she drank a lot. And when she drank, she got very touchy-feely with Cinco and the other fellas in the house. Now, check this out, y'all. Jay flips her hair right and says, tell me I'm wrong. Brittany gets right back at Jay and says, she's so worried about Cinco. Poor little tink tink. I didn't click with Jay because she's rude. When she walked into the house, she didn't speak. And Charlie seconds it and even says that Cinco apologized to the both of them on Jay's behalf. Then Jay and Brittany start going back and forth, y'all. Brittany saying Jay doesn't have friends and this is why. Jay saying I have plenty of friends, but maybe the older ladies just didn't like the younger ones. Brittany says, child, please. You'll be lucky to make it to my age, chick. Taronda says, okay, let's move on. Y'all did have some good times in the house. It wasn't all bad. Y'all remember the games? Man, oh my God. I remember them and I'm trying to forget them personally. And fun? Girl, every single game ended up in creating some type of drama. You call that fun, Taronda? Were they fun or was it funny to watch the drama unfold afterwards? Well, y'all, Taronda has one last game for these never ever mets at this reunion. So everybody has a whiteboard in front of them. She's going to ask them a question and wants them to write their honest answers down. So she asked, who was the peacemaker in the house? Most of them say Cinco. Irvin, the man who dipped out first and spent the least amount of time in this house with these people, answers Jared. Jared, y'all, the man who laughed at your tears when you were crying about leaving this house. Okay, my dude. All right. The next question was, if you had a do-over and could switch partners with anyone on the stage, who would it be and why? Jared wrote down that he would choose Alicia so he could gaslight her the way she gaslit Irvin. Alicia shot this look at Jared, y'all, like, you little mofo. I wish you would. Chris wrote down that he would do his do-over again with Tati because they have similar qualities. And Tati wrote down that she would do her do-over with Chris. Kiki also said Chris. Brandon said he would do his do-over with Charlie because that was his little waffle buddy. Alexis said she would do her do-over with Brandon. Kiki says to Alexis, we'll go home with Brandon. You'll be right back here. Kiki. Oh my gosh. That was a little bit of shade. Next question was, who was hitting on someone else's partner after they left the house? Brittany wrote down that Brandon has a crush on Charlie. Charlie wrote down Brandon. Taronda says, oh, do you want to elaborate? And Brittany says, Charlie and Brandon made waffles together every morning. Hence the waffle buddy comment. Oh, really, huh? That's interesting. Taronda asked Jared what he thought of that, and Jared basically says, I don't give a damn. And he does not. Clearly he does not. Clavasse wrote down Chris. He feels Chris looks at Tati in a way that says he wants her. Alexis says, I think Chris and Tati are already talking. Chris is like, where are you getting that from? And Alexis says, it's just a feeling. Tati is sitting up in her chair, just smirking, y'all. She's taking this all in, and she thinks it's hilarious. Chris says, well, maybe y'all are speaking it into existence. Baby, Chris is praying that this is being spoken into existence, okay? With the way he was looking at Tati just 2 minutes ago, like he was starving and she was a whole meal. Alexis is like, well, do you want to come sit on Tati's lap? Like, what the F? It's already in existence. Chris tells Alexis, well, you shouldn't have been asking me for D pics anyway. I was like, D pics? Where the hell is this coming from? This is like a whole different topic. Clay is sitting up in his chair, sweating, looking like he's about to leap up out of it and say something to Chris. Y'all, Clay was not happy about this little Chris and Tati situation at all. Taronda says, guys, it's just a game. Well, Taronda, you see how messy your little games are? Do you see all the unnecessary drama they create? Let's take a beat from these terrible games next season, shall we? So now we get to the couples who actually lasted in the house the full 3 weeks, and we start with Cinco and Jay, who left the house together as a couple. Jay's intention coming into the house was to see if their 5-month online relationship could translate to real life, and it did. Cinco says, I didn't expect anything different from what I was getting online. We just clicked from day one, and we always kept it 100. Jay says we weren't strangers like other couples who didn't really like each other and stuff. Taronda checks Jay now and says, you're throwing stones. So Jay says, I'm sorry. And Taronda says, yep, because we ain't doing that. But are y'all still seeing each other? Both Jay and Cinco say yes. And Jay says, you see what happens when you get things out of the way from the gate? And I believe she was referring to she and Cinco getting it in that shower the first day they got into that house. Taronda asked Cinco if Jay revealing that she slept with more than one person in a 24-hour period threw him off at all. He says, nah, it didn't mess anything up with us. Alicia chimes in here and says, you see how they keep the relationship private? Ty says, ooh, that's shade. Alicia says, it's not. I think it's a good thing. Jay confirms that there's a lot we didn't see on the show. So Cinco came to Chicago to see Jay a week after they stopped filming, and he comes to visit her every month, and he sends flowers to her door like every 3 days. They're still trying to figure out the logistics, like who's going to move where and whatnot. But now Cinco has to dip out of this reunion early because he plays basketball in Atlanta and he's leaving to try out for a league overseas who are basically giving contracts out on the spot. And if he gets picked up, he leaves at the end of the month, so he's leaving to go catch this flight. Jay says they've talked about her visiting him if he gets picked up and that she would not because she doesn't like long flights. Cinco says he's not worried because she always says no at first. Now, Cinco has met Jay's son and he absolutely adores Cinco, as does the rest of Jay's family. Taronda asks, are you going to marry Jay? And he says, eventually, if things keep going the way that they are. So he gets up, everybody says goodbye to Cinco, and he walks over to kiss Jay and bounces. Alexis and Chris are next, y'all. They talk about how Alexis really wanted to go to that boom boom room with Chris and how Chris was not having it. He says he didn't want to be viewed as a piece of meat, but being physical has never been an issue for him. Brittany asks if Alexis ever got what she wanted. Chris says, oh yes, she got what she wanted. Alexis is like, when and where? Because I'm over here looking like Ty. And Taronda asks Chris, why did you send Alexis an eggplant pic? He says to prove a point that I'm not lacking up over here. Taronda asks, well, did you two ever become intimate? Alexis is shaking her head no. She's sitting up there quiet as a church mouse, just shaking her head back and forth no. And Chris is like, oh, we didn't? We lying now? And Alexis says, it wasn't like that. Jared was like, listen, I'm going to give y'all the tea. One time I was laying down in my bed and they opened up the bathroom door. Alexis came out and her glasses were all fogged up. And Chris says, that was only part 1. Kiki caught part 2. So then Kiki says, I came around the corner and I saw Chris and Alexis and there was a lot I didn't need to be seen. But they were nude. There were no other details given, y'all. And isn't that what the reunions are for? So we can get all the details we didn't get from watching these people in the house? Like, what the hell? Tell us. Let us know what actually happened. Give us some details. Don't hold back now. Now, Alexis and Chris left the house together, but after, Alexis says she needed to decompress, process what he said about her in the house, like things like she was too aggressive and that she was triggering him. And she needed to reevaluate things about herself. But at the end of the day, they mutually decided to end the relationship. Neither of them were fighting for it, and it faded out, so they let it go. Alexa says, I'm gonna stop that right now and let Tati take that over. she she said, Tati, you can go ahead and have Chris, okay? I'm good. So y'all, Clay is not letting this thing go about Chris and Tati. And he asked Chris, why did you say you would do this over again with Tati if you could? Chris was like, that's still on your mind, player? Well, I think we have a lot in common and she's beautiful. Is that fair? Tati is sitting up over there in her seat, just a grinning and whatnot. She is just eating it up now, okay? Then Jay chimes in and says, it shouldn't even matter to you, Clay, because you just said you had a girlfriend. So, boom. So then we move on. Alexa says she's dating and Chris says he's not. He's just working on himself and hoping he'll attract the woman he needs. Kiki and Brandon's review is up next. Trying to ask Brandon if he overreacted to Kiki's drinking. And he says, well, maybe a little bit. Kiki says Brandon constantly accused her of drinking. Then Jared says Kiki wasn't drinking like crazy. She wasn't drinking a whole lot. Jay says, your little waffle buddy Charlie drank way more than Kiki. And Brandon says, well, I wasn't with Charlie at the time. And I said, whoa, baby. At the time, huh? At the time? So are y'all together now? And I swear, y'all, just as I thought that, Kiki asked them that same question. Are y'all together? Brandon starts smirking and Charlie starts smirking, but they both remain silent and they did not say a thing, okay? They remained silent as if they were up under arrest. Baby, the answer is in the silence for me. So Jay asked Brandon if he'd ever talked about the alcohol and the drinking situation with Kiki before they got into the house. Like, y'all had a whole 4 years to talk about it. And Brandon says, listen, someone could be hiding anything. Well, he kind of hit the nail on the head here with that one because a whole lot of y'all were hiding a little more than a few things this season. Taronda asked Kiki if she had revealed her secret about her ex sooner to Brandon, if she feels that would have changed the course of things. Kiki says she wasn't ready to be done with her ex, but she knew it needed to happen. Brandon says to Kiki, if you would have told me early on, we definitely would have been out the house sooner because I told you that was a deal breaker for me. Kiki says, you know how I viewed you, Brandon. I viewed you as a best friend, and going into a relationship, you gotta be my best friend. Alexa says, listen, I need some clarity here. If you're best friends, how do you keep secrets from your bestie and lie? Brandon is like, yeah, that's a great question. And Taronda answers, no, I don't accept the best friends who keep secrets and lie to me, but everybody has their own definition of best friends and what that means to them. Speaking of best friends, y'all, we move on to Charlie and Jared's review. Charlie says coming into this house, she expected to see if the chemistry she and Jared had online and on the phone translated in person, but it went wrong because she had no idea how Jared truly felt. And I'm going to say she had no idea who Jared really was. He didn't protect her or her feelings, and he wasn't honest throughout this whole process. Jared says going into the house, he owed it to Charlie to see if the relationship could work. So once the secret babies were revealed, he pretty much made up his mind that it was not going to work. He thought that maybe if they did the do, that could sway him to want to be with Charlie and change his mind. So he feels like he tried. Charlie says, well, you say that you tried, but when? Because day two, your mind was already set to a no. We both had secrets. And Jared says, well, yours is a little bigger than mine. I was only hiding one baby. You were hiding 3. So me giving this a second thought was me trying. Y'all, hell no. I said it from the beginning. Jared portrayed himself to be this nice, caring, sincere, good guy, when all along he was a little devil in disguise. He knew he just wanted to hit it and quit it and be done with Charlie, and this whole thing was a setup for him to get him some from Charlie, and that was it. That's what happened. Jared says the total number of kids was the issue for him. And Charlie says, ooh, I never asked anyone for anything when it comes to my children. I didn't ask anyone to be their dad. They have a dad. I didn't ask anyone for money. I make damn good money. I'm paid and I have a big, beautiful home. What I want is a man to love me. So then Jared asks, well, would you have moved to North Carolina for me? And Charlie says, I have my kids and their fathers are in Dallas. So no, I couldn't have done that. And Jared says, well, I guess it was all up in smoke from the very beginning. I'm thinking if y'all would have had these conversations from jump, maybe y'all could have avoided wasting time messing with one another, you know? But then again, Jared was going to do and say what he needed to do and or say to get into Charlie's pants. So there's that. Lord, 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 y'all. This whole relationship with Jared and Charlie was a disaster. Taronda says, Charlie, everybody saw the red flags but you. In one of Jay's confessionals, she said Jared was using Charlie. And it was like the lights were on, but nobody was home for Charlie because Ray Charles could see what was going on. Then we see a flashback scene of Jared talking to Kiki, saying he loves Charlie, but his mind is made up and he's still gonna have fun. And another never before seen flashback scene, we see Jared talking to the fellas out on the lawn after that game he responded F no to. And he says it doesn't matter what happens on this show, because once this is aired, the whole count is finna be off the charts. All the Instagram baddies finna be up in our DMs. So at the reunion, we see Jared putting his hand up to his forehead like, damn, I'm an idiot. And yes, sir, yes, you are. Then he turns around and says he treated Charlie like she was a queen. Trying to ask Charlie if Jared was playing games by giving her mixed signals because 1 minute you were his best friend and the next minute you were his soulmate. So then Jared asks, well, you can't be both. Jay says, if you had never done the do with her, then yes. But once you crossed that line, the dynamics changed. And I appreciate Jay for saying this because no matter how badly we try to convince ourselves that being physical with someone is just being physical with someone and that is nothing more than that, the truth of the matter is for most of us, the physical and emotional sides of it all become intertwined. That's the truth. Then Jared is adding in the soulmate gibberish. Charlie was eating it up and it really confused things for her. She didn't know which way was up and which way was down, child. So Jared says, I call Charlie my soulmate because she is a soul. She is a soul, and I want to keep her in my life. Yes, she is a soul. That is true. Charlie is sitting in her seat looking confused yet again. Alexis was like, Charlie, you're looking for a solid answer from Jared. Why? Why do you need an answer? Do you still have a little hope that things will work out with y'all? And Charlie claims that she just needs to understand what Jared's thought process was. Jared comes out and says, listen, it was nice knowing you, Charlie. I don't want to lead you on. So we're no longer going to be friends. It was nice getting to know you. Taronda says, Charlie, he's finally giving you an honest answer here. Are you good with that? Charlie says, yeah, she's good now. So Jared says he's not dating anyone right now. Charlie claims she's not dating anyone right now. But Charlie, I want to know what's up with you and Brandon, because y'all did not answer that question. And again, the silence was all the answer that I needed. Something is up between y'all. Taronda asks Charlie if she's still in love with Jared. She pauses. She got really quiet there for a second. Then she says she loves him, but she's getting that whack-ass tattoo removed. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. And please don't ever, ever get another man's name tattooed on you, girl. Never, ever again. Okay? It takes a real strong level of commitment for a man to even deserve that. And this right here, with this fool Jared, that was not it. And Alexis echoes my sentiment here. She's like, finally. Charlie, don't you fall for that. Let me open the door. Let me carry your bags. Let me pull the chair out for you nonsense ever again. You got to look beyond the surface-ish and go deeper before you go all in with someone. Jared doesn't have the capacity to carry a relationship with you or anybody else. Trying to drop some gems and says, you want a love that feels safe and is abundant. You give that love to your kids. You give that love to yourself. That way, you won't have to seek it from anybody else. And high five to Rhonda on that. You were spot on. It's called self-love, y'all. Self-love. And a lot of people don't even know what that looks like. It's more than just having high self-esteem. It's about living a life that speaks to your values. It's about knowing your worth. And it's about affirming yourself. It's about showing the same kind of love to yourself that you would show to the person or people you absolutely love the most in this world. And living a life where if you transition tomorrow, you'd proudly hand it over to that person or those people you love the most. So after this, Charlie thanks Jared for finally being honest with her. He says, of course, and I'm here if you need anything. Yeah. Sir, that is the BS y'all were just talking about. You and all these mixed signals you love to throw out. Child, someone help him. One minute he says, I don't want to be your best friend or I don't want to be your friend anymore. And the next he says, I'm here if you need anything. Charlie is like, what in the hell? Jared was like, oops, okay, never mind. Toronto wraps up this reunion, y'all, and that is the end of this review and the end of season 2 for the Never Ever Mets. There was so much tomfoolery happening in this house with this cast, all of the secret babies and secret eating habits, all of the secret besties of the opposite gender, and all of the secret relationships with the exes, all of the hidden traumas and hidden agendas. If I've said it once, I'll say it again. These Never Ever Mets should have never ever met. Maybe with the exception of Jay and Cinco. And I'm glad this season is finally over. I feel like this Never Ever Mets reunion should have never ever happened. We got all that we needed during the season. This reunion was pretty dry, y'all. It was pretty boring. We didn't really get much else. And I'm just glad it's done. So, y'all comment down below and let me know what you thought of this reunion and this season overall. Season 1 still takes the cake as the wackest of the series so far, but this is season 2, and well, it was also pretty bad. So, anywho, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and don't forget to tell someone that you love them today. And don't forget to love on yourself. Love y'all. Peace.